So I think I should do that. Joining me now, and again, as always, Congressman Mike Haridopolos from Florida's 8th District. Congressman, great to have you back here.
It is always a pleasure. Thanks for what you do every day to promote American freedom.
Let's dive into the issue that I've been going back and forth on. A number of issues, as you know, Mike, every day, but on this DHS and ICE, the partial government shutdown, which is underway. They're arguing about ICE because that sells with their base. They're taking on DHS, but there are some very real world issues here. I'm flying today. Hopefully I don't have any issues, but TSA is deemed essential. They're at work. And just to play this for everyone so they understand what's going on out there, here's an interview with a TSA agent, someone who's actually impacted by this partial shutdown. Cut 9.
For the last shutdown, we had a little over 100 officers.
Trying to keep 19 lanes open for more than 20 hours a day takes a lot of work. They say adding this layer of no pay on top of the already stressful job is becoming a challenge.
I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to feed my family tomorrow? And on top of that, being able to screen and make sure that the passengers make it through safely. Those are 2 extra levels of stress that we have to go through.
But they say their commitment to the job is essential. And in Salt Lake City, they'll continue to lean on one another.
We're still going to come in because we're going to support each other. We're a good team here in Utah. We support each other. Again, we signed up for the mission, but again, too, life still happens. There are going to be times when people are going to have to call out when they can't afford gas because they live an hour away.
Although they'll be getting a paycheck in 2 weeks, it won't be in full.
Rent's due, mortgages due, and all these bills are due at the beginning of the month. And so that's where it really hits home when we actually see that. I mean, especially for me, is when that first partial payment comes through.
Very real world for that worker. What say you, Congressman?
Well, again, it just shows that the Democrats have no shame. They will do anything in the name of politics, not recognizing the impact that it has not only in our public safety, but of course, these folks who work hard every day to protect us. And this is the challenge we face. And Dave, as you know, the ICE funding is already in place till 2028. So that's not the issue. And we agree, we all do, there should be cameras for ICE agents because ICE agents are confronted with all kinds of challenges every day, and the public needs to see those challenges. And second, yes, I think ICE agents need more training, but I'm not going to allow Schumer and the Democrats to dox these agents who are trying to simply re-arrest violent criminals across the country.
The solution is in the Democrats' hands. The Senate's on recess. We see where we are today. Fortunately, at the end of last week was the pay period for many. So there's at least a little bit of even though there could be a lot of anxiety, as you hear from that TSA agent, there could be at least a 2-week window possibly to get this resolved. Do you think this can be resolved without giving into some of these, Democrat demands?
Look, there's no way that we should give in to these demands. Again, we have met the call of the public, and the laws that are currently on the books, those were passed by Republicans and Democrats. And so what they're basically doing is yelling at themselves because Chuck Schumer, as you've seen recently all across the internet, used to be on the other side of every one of these issues. But because he thinks that the 2 tragedies in Minneapolis played politically well, especially to his radical base, he's going to try to do everything possible to undercut this very important program that we had. But we can't give in because it's about public safety and to make sure those people are putting their lives in the line who are ICE agents, they and their family do not get doxxed by these radicals who are literally get in the way of arresting violent and sexual offenders.
Look, there are many aspects to this current partial shutdown, as you know, TSA, FEMA, CPB, ICE, DHS, Coast Guard, Secret Service. There's another one, and This is an ongoing threat on a daily basis to the country, to corporations, but now reduced operations for cybersecurity and or actually CISA, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. That's a threat that apparently Democrats don't care about, but yet corporations and government are on 24/7 defense against these threats, whether criminal or foreign actors.
That's exactly right. And I just left the defense contractor. I had some meetings with them because of the vital role that they play defending the homeland. And they tell me every single day, whether it be, as you put, criminals, but in most cases, with talking about national defense, you have China, North Korea, Russia, Iran are constantly using their computer programmers to try to steal information, just like they do from corporations, as China's done throughout the last few decades. This is how irresponsible the Democrats have become. They are not the adults in the room. They are childish who will literally take their ball and go home if they have the ability to shut down the government and put Americans at risk. It's really upsetting to everyone, not just those people you just mentioned at the TSA lines, but all Americans, because they are keeping us in a very unsafe situation when we've already allocated the resources to keep the nation safe.
Let's look at something that's even more localized and go back to FEMA for a moment, Congressman. There's heavy reliance in a lot of states for disaster funds. Now, the better run states with a better budget and whether, extra money or whatever the case may be, can front load to deal with this. We have massive freezes going on across the country. It's weather, it's winter. And in some of these more blue states, localized for those Democrats out there and their voters, if you get hit and your state is unable to front load and handle the load, you could have a greater effect on your citizens. Democrats don't seem to give a crap about the people who support them and the potential danger.
Again, this is just showing who they really are. And you and I have talked about it, David. The Democrats' number one issue is power. All they care about is sending more money and more power to them in Washington. That's the entire business plan that they operate under. And they don't care about their own voters, because if they cared about their own voters, David, they wouldn't allow criminals back on the streets in sanctuary cities. They would allow FEMA to do their operations. And as you saw recently in New York City, I think over a dozen people died who froze to death because of the incompetence of the government and now in New York City. This is fundamental, and it's really cutting at the fabric of what America is all about. And all they care about, as you just said, are not the voters, let alone their own voters. It's they care about acquiring more power like they had when they ruined the country from 2021 to 2025.
Yeah, states like California can't even recover from the Palisade fire and other tragedies. If they get hit with one in the middle of this, God forbid, they don't have the ability. New York State, not much different. Florida, we're in better position. I have to go to the SAVE Act. The job's been done in the House. I spoke to Congressman Byron Donalds earlier on the show about this, and specifically to the filibuster in the Senate and the talking filibuster as a tool to move this forward. I for every reason proven by the Democrats, do not believe that they would care if it was attached to a future must-pass legislation. We're seeing what they're willing to do now at the expense of others. What say you to the talking filibuster? Will it work?
Well, first of all, we have to force them to defend this turf. We have the upper hand here, but more importantly, it's the right thing to do. And instead of just accepting the cloture vote, meaning we can't get 60 votes to stop debate, make the Democrats stay there all night, all day to defend a terrible position. The SAVE Act is such common sense. And when I tell people that 14 states don't require voter ID in order to vote, they can't believe it. Or in states like Minnesota that says you can vouch for other people in order to vote, I mean, it is so fundamental that we must make sure that only Americans vote in American elections. That's why I'm a proud co-sponsor of the SAVE Act, because when we lose the fundamental element that creates a Republican form of government under a constitutional system, that meaning democracy, we lose the country. And the Democrats know that if we start exposing some of this, they will lose more races. And this is why they are fighting it tooth and nail, and because some of the nefarious things they did during COVID that sent out live ballots, etc., in the mail.
Congressman Mike Haridopolos, Florida's 8th District. Congressman, thank you.
Always a pleasure, David. Thanks for what you do every day, my friend.